All right, welcome to the Georgia State Advisory Panel Orientation. I certainly am glad you're here. I am Dr. Karen Fisher, and I am the current SAP chair. And here is the agenda which we are going to go through quickly because we only have an hour and I want to make the most of our time. So the objective for today's hour-long meeting and orientation is that you understand your role and responsibilities under IDEA in Section 619, because this panel is observed by the law. And so that's a reason why we're here. Because in special education, we can talk in acronyms, I want to go ahead and see how you are with your acronyms. So I want to go through this quickly. If you don't mind, stay unmuted and answer as quickly as possible what you think the following acronyms are. And I did this with, so like this. So tell me what you think APR is.
Academic Program Review.
Close. Annual Performance Report. CFR. I'll take it you don't know. Code of Federal Regulation.
Okay.
ESEA.
Every student education element. Oh, the ESEA, yeah.
ESEA, Elementary Secondary Education Act. Didn't know you were taking a quiz, did you? What about ESSA?
Every Student Succeeds Act.
Yay, got one. ICC.
No.
I wrote this and I don't remember what that one was. So there you go. Interagency Coordinating Council. Oh, APR. Why? I don't know why they're coming back again. Here we go. You remember IDEA?
Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act, depending on who.
Right, I know. Isn't that confusing? And we all know what IEP means.
Individualized Education Program.
And what about LA?
C.
Your lead agency, or sometimes it's LEA, Lead Education Agency. So, well, there we go. You're going to hear it referred to both ways. And don't worry, you don't have to memorize these. We try not to talk in acronyms, but you might hear. Do you remember what Part B is?
Yeah, that's the section of IDEA that addresses, is it P12?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, Part B. Part C is the little ones. Part B is the older ones, 6 through 21.
5, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
gotta remember they're opposite. That's how I memorize it. So there we go. Your infants and toddlers are Part C.
Yeah.
Do you know what PTI means?
In my work, it means part-time instructor.
When we refer to it in SAP at the SAP meetings, it's a Parent Training and Information Center.
Okay. The
SEA.
An agency.
Yay, good job. OCR. It's illegal. Office of Civil Rights. OSEP.
Office of Special Education Program.
Yeah, so many of us were funded under that. And then the SAP is what we're here for, right? We're the state advisor.
Yeah.
Section 619.
I'll know this one.
It's your preschoolers under IDEA. It's just that section of IDEA. The SSIP. I know that.
Improvement plan. Oh,
yeah. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about the SSIP, the SPP in detail. Probably too much. Good job. I don't know if I would have gotten that one. Do you remember TAES? T-A-E-S?
I remember that one. Okay.
I know, and I had it in a whole nother page. ADA, you probably remembered.
Yeah. BCW?
No. Babies Can't Wait.
Okay.
Oh, I know you know that one.
I know Cedar.
Yeah, what you're going to see now is more Georgia.
Okay.
Do you know what EIS stands for?
I don't.
I came from Florida, so this one we didn't use in Florida, but it is used quite a bit here, or early intervention. GAA?
It's the Georgia Alternative Assessment.
Yeah. And FAPE, I'm sure you know.
Education.
Do you know what an FIEP is?
Is that a family IEP?
No, we have in Georgia what's called a facilitated IEP.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, where parents can request to have a facilitator from the state.
Okay.
Fiscal year is all that means.
Yeah.
And this is what you're referring to.
Yeah. An individual family service plan.
Yeah.
Good
Good
deal.
you should
I know that one. I don't know this one.
GIMP. Yeah, I didn't know that one either.
Okay.
But I think the teachers, you knew that one, right, Angie? I don't know. And GLRS, are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, the Georgia Resource Centers or Resource System. Yeah.
GNETs?
Georgia. Yeah, that's the alternative school system. Yeah.
GBRA?
That's folk rehab.
Yep. SDD?
Those are the unidentified specific developmental disabilities or significant.
Delay, yep. Oh, we already did SEA.
Is that year to date?
Yep, I know some of them are LRE, you probably know.
Good environment and the multi-tier system of support.
Yeah.
And I'm not familiar with this one. Okay.
Parent.
Partnership.
Yeah. And then
The intervention.
Yeah.
Sister to MTSS. Student
Right.
team.
Yep.
Students with disabilities.
Okay, so you got through that. and don't worry, when we were in person, sometimes we'd hand out cheat sheets to all the acronyms, and then we try to ask our presenters not to use so many acronyms because we have so many parents on the panel. So, but that just gives you a little bit of an overview of some of the specific terms that we use within SAP. Okay. And so what is the purpose of SAP? So given the objective of what I've told you, what do you think the purpose is?
I think it's probably a group of people that represent multiple stakeholders who either evaluate or make suggestions around special ed policy statewide.
Right. We help provide policy guidance. Pretty much. You got that in a nutshell. Good job. All right, we can go now. I'm just kidding. We're actually a large group. This is an actual photo of when we used to meet in person. This was are you in this photo, Angie? She's on mute, isn't she? So this is a photo of our actual group. But from what I understand, the Georgia SAP is one of the biggest in the nation, but every state has one. And so next I'm going to talk a little bit about our responsibility and duties. So we're here to advise the state on the unmet needs on those rules and regulations, just like you said. And the state is going to, we're going to advise them on developing evaluations and to report on data. And then we're also going to advise them on developing corrective action plans to address some of the federal monitoring reports. And some of those acronyms we learned were some of those reports. So we are also going to advise the SEA in developing and implementing policies. And then the SEA is going to provide us with findings and decisions. And this is interesting. It says from DPH, I guess that's Department of Public Health. You're going to see more acronyms in here that aren't even included in mine. Okay. Which is interesting. I don't know if I've seen any Department of Public Health data, but this came from other information I found. But anyway, and then the state, they're legally obligated to consult with us about the provisions of FAPE, as well as the waiver of non-supplant requirements. And I had to look that up because I wasn't sure exactly what that meant. And you see, I put it on here so I would remember, but it means that when federal funds are not used, cannot be used when state or local funds are available. So when states ask for a waiver for that, then we also, the state consults with us about that waiver.
Mm.
All right. And we also advise on the disproportionality on the representation of students with disabilities. We also review and comment on due process hearings and the findings that come out of those. And we serve on stakeholder committees as outlined in the improvement process. So who are the members? So you already know that there are members from higher education, because that's where you and I are from. Who else do you think are members of the state advisory panel?
I would think teachers, administrators, parents, community-based organizations.
Yeah, you got it. So membership are based on stakeholders, and they also are based on where your district is. We have representation from all over the state. And so they base it on where we vote, those district voting precincts, not the precincts, but it's the districts, right? Because I think I'm District 10. Okay. So it's important that you understand the stakeholder group that you represent. Now, I think you're coming in as a representative of the Institute of Higher Education.
Correct.
And I represent District 4.
District, yeah.
They're the congressional districts.
Okay, congressional districts, that's what it's called. Thank you for helping me out. So I represent District 10 because I'm also a parent of a student with a disability and Institute of Higher Education. You'll see how you can serve more than one role.
Got it.
And interestingly enough, we're appointed by the governor or other official authorized under state law. So I thought that was cool. And here are the different people that are on the panel. And you already mentioned some of these: parents, individuals with disabilities, representation from colleges and universities, administrators, state agencies. We can have public and private charter schools. Georgia wants at least one representative from vocational community or businesses. We also asked for a representative from the juvenile or adult correction agency and somebody who is responsible for foster care. I don't think these last three are required by law, but it's something that Georgia wants.
Okay.
All right, so these are agency positions that are permanent, and so the person that was on it is a 3-year term, and the agency usually nominates the representative. And again, here's some more acronyms. I think I only went over one of them. So I'll just let you read those over real quick.
Okay.
And so individuals with disabilities and parents must make up more than 50% of the members. So you need to have more parents or individuals with disabilities than you do agency members.
Okay.
We do serve without compensation. However, we are reimbursed for any travel or other expenses related to attending meetings or performing duties. So when we are in person, we do receive reimbursement for, the hotel and the meal and the travel, things like that, if we needed childcare. And you may serve more than one role. I already mentioned that. So the terms of membership are 3 years. They're staggered, so everybody doesn't go on and off at one time. It's meant to be so they're about a third at a time. And members can serve 2 consecutive terms. And so if you want to serve again, you have to fill out an application and resubmit it for review.
Okay. And
so you can do a total of 6 years if you'd like. If you are somebody with a disability and you'd like an assistant to attend with you, that is allowed. And we do, of course, provide other accommodations if you need an interpreter or things like that. Just let us know.
Okay.
Expect to attend meetings for the length of your tenure. And if you think you're going to miss one, notify the chair no later than 48 hours if possible. Because you're an agency representative, you may send a substitute. Just notify me of the substitute and make sure you let them know what we've been working on and then any committee work you've been on.
Okay.
So just remember that when you do miss a meeting, so do the members that you represent. Because if you're not there, you're not representing the people that are your constituents. Now, say you found that you don't have time to do this anymore and you want to resign, you can submit a letter of resignation. If you happen to be absent more than 3 times, we'll ask you to resign. And then you will be contacted if you miss more than 2 meetings. Now, I bet you'd like to know what meetings look like.
Yeah.
Let's see. We meet no less than 4 times a year. We've already put out the agenda. I think we have 6 times. We're meeting a little more than usual because of being virtual. And we use what's called consensus building when we meet. So if we were meeting in person and you had to submit for reimbursement, just make sure you submit that paperwork in a timely manner. Okay. Or if you need something like an interpreter or something, let us know in a timely manner so we have time to do that. We do provide you with the dates and the agenda in advance. Minutes are kept and they're posted on the website. We do follow Robert's rules. And you'll notice that the general public, they can attend to provide public comment. When we're in person, the visitors occupy a special seating in a visitor specific seating, and we may not interact with them. So that's kind of odd, but that's the way it is when we're in person. We have not had any visitors yet when we've been virtual. I'm sure we'll be told what to do if we have a virtual visitor. They probably won't be allowed to join us until it's public comment time is what I would guess. Now, public comment time, every meeting we allocate 30 minutes for public comment, and I may request additional time if needed. And then the public may comment, a person from the public may comment either orally by being there, in person. They can call in and do it on the phone or provide written comment, which I would read or Angie would read would read to the panel. They're limited to 5 minutes. When it's in person, they sign in and we call them up by order. And the speaker is asked to give their name and the county they live in. They are asked to be factual and then to abide by the confidentiality. So in other words, don't talk, a lot of times it's parents or even we've had advocates, make sure they don't give specific names of students or schools or teachers is what we're asking. And when they submit it in, we ask them that on the website. We take their comments under advisement, but we do not give them a written or spoken response. So again, it's very odd because they'll give us a 5-minute, very passionate speech on something they're passionate about. And we sit there and we listen and we take notes, but we don't say anything back to them. And they just say, thank you. And then they leave. So I thought I'd let you know that because it's kind of an odd thing, but I guess I don't know if it's normal in public situations, but
do they ever receive a response, like something in writing later from the panel at all?
I don't think they do from the panel. I think I know brief summaries recorded in the minutes. If it is, I'll have to find out an answer to that. But if it is, I think it comes from somebody within the State Department, whether from the direct, depending on what it impacts. Okay. That's what I think, but that's a good question. And because I know the meeting that we're going to the meeting that we're getting ready to have, I know on the agenda, it's going to talk a little bit about special education, adaptive PE. And that came from one of these public comments.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if Dr. Smith-Dixon's ever going to go back and tell the original commenter that the outcome of it or not. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I just know we don't.
Okay.
So good question. So what is the difference between an advisory panel and advocacy groups? Because as you know, there's a lot of advocacy groups in special education. So as a panel, we give advice, we inform, we counsel, recommend, but advocacy groups, they tend to be, they narrowly focus on a position and argue, or guide in one position. And there is a difference between this. And so our role as on this advisory panel is to inform, counsel, recommend. All right, and not necessarily to plead our case or favor an individual case or argument. Sure. So while it's okay to advocate for a position that you have, in the end, it's important that you come to a consensus with everybody else so that we can advise the state and then not continue to advocate for your own case or position. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
And so this is, and I could tell you too, it's like, I don't know if it applies, I think, more to like those of us on the panel who have kids with disabilities, because we tend to be like, well, this happened to my kid at my kid's school, and that's not exactly what they're looking for, because it may not be happening across your whole district, Mm-hmm. So this is kind of what it looks like in terms of the panel responsibility. So there's an issue priority or an unmet need that's actually brought up by the state through some of those reports, like the SPP, the state performance, I can't remember what the acronym stands for anymore. State performance panel? Well, whatever, the SPP, the SIPP, those reports, you'll see where the state is having trouble. And I'm going to show you the indicators in a little bit on what is measured. Okay. And so we'll focus in on a couple of those unmet needs, and then resources and information will be shared with us regarding that issue from the state. So they'll come in and share with us what they're trying to do or what's happening regarding that issue. And then we will share we'll know anyway, our perspective and experiences regarding that issue. And input through that collaborative process will be gathered through members' discussion. We'll come up together as a group or a committee's advice and suggestion to provide to the state, and the state will make a decision. And they may or may not accept our advice. They may not. They just need to seek out our advice. They don't need to accept it. That's not in the law that they need to accept it. Okay. But that change could take 3 to 4 years. This is not a quick process. Mm. So what does consensus building look like? I'll just give you a minute to look through these slides. Mm. Mm. Any questions on those?
No, I don't think so. Those are pretty straightforward.
Yep. I'm probably speaking to the choir. Is that the right term? So consensus is not win-lose. Consensus is win-win. Okay, so say there's something that you don't agree with. This is how you can object to decisions that are being made. Of course, you can support the decision, but you can support it with some reservations. You could support it with your suggested modifications. You can completely block and say, I do not support this decision, and it can be put in the minutes. Or you can withdraw your and say, I cannot support this decision without, but will not block the group from reaching consensus. So those are some things you can do when we're trying to build consensus. Any questions about that?
I will add a comment that, let me see. Okay, I will add a comment that typically, when we are presented with information, we do talk about it. We do hash it out. We do present our views, and people ask some very thought-provoking questions, and we talk it through. And usually through that process, you're able to figure out, you know, if you're going to support or not. But more than likely, people tend to support, but that goes back to being advisors as opposed to advocates.
Okay.
When you're an advisor, you're looking at the data. Your mindset takes a shift because you're looking at the supporting data or the lack thereof data, and go from there. You'll be able to make more sound decisions.
Yep. Thank you, Angie, for that. All right, so now what is that role of the state special ed director? And here is the director's role. I'll let you read through those and let me know if you have any questions.
Okay.
And I highlighted some areas because those are the areas that I'm going to go into a little more detail. So, and this is what I was talking about. What do we analyze? Okay, so that general supervision that I was mentioning, those are the processes and indicators, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then it's the effective implementation of policies and procedures. Those are the special education policies and procedures.
Okay.
And the compliance that we've talked about. There's the state monitoring procedures and that data, as well as the data that has to be collected. All of this is reported in this supervision and oversight, and we analyze it, including the dispute resolution and the requirements for professional development. Now, the state performance plan. So it's important that we understand how important it is and the relationship between the APR and SPP, the annual performance report, right? And state performance plan. The plan is the plan they write and the report is how they did. Yeah. The improvement plan is how they're going to improve on what they wrote, how they did. I'm just now figuring it out, trust me. Anyway, so we provide advice to the state, like I mentioned earlier, to develop those measurable and rigorous targets for each indicator that is listed under the improvement plan. And we request that the state provides updates at least annually to the SAP. And then we use that data to help generate priorities. So we provide the suggestions when it is updated and revised, and we suggest improvements for each indicator. We provide advice and guidance, and the state will provide us an update at each meeting regarding progress towards those targets. And like I said, we use those to help with our priorities. So there's 4 levels of determination. I think, and I do think this is going to be discussed at our first meeting. Those are meets, and this is from the federal Department of Education. Comes back, so the state turns in all these reports that they write that we give input on, and then they write, they submit it, and then the federal government comes back and gives them these levels determination. So it's kind of like their grade, and it's the meets, needs, or, what have you. And so Georgia got theirs back, and they got a needs assistance. And as you can see, it was very close to the meets the requirements. And because I looked it up, it is public information and it's on the SAP website. And it looks like a lot of it was just based on test scores of students with disabilities.
Mm.
And then it suggests a criteria for district determination and improvement strategies for the state levels of determination. So within that report from the federal government, it has these suggestions. And like I said, right, I think we're gonna hear more about that at the first meeting.
Okay.
Now the SIP, that's the improvement plan. So we need to be familiar with the results. They will be shared with us, and we're gonna provide, we will provide advice on improving those results.
Okay.
And we need to know the relationship. And there's 3 phases there. And then we'll provide guidance during each phase. Now, remember I told you that I'd tell you about the indicators. So there's these indicators that are on the SIP and the SPP. So the SPP is what we would send in to the feds to grade us on. And then they come grade us, it comes back, and then we do this SSIP based on how they graded us. So these are those indicators and what they mean. So I'll give you a chance to read over these.
Okay.
There's more.
Okay.
All right, any questions about them?
No, ma'am.
All right, guess what? That was the last slide. Well, this is the last slide. Do you feel like, did I completely overwhelm you, or do you feel like I met the objectives of providing you information on your roles and responsibilities of being a SAP member?
I feel like you've given really a great amount of information. I think the role that you described is clear, and I think for not having participated yet, I have a general sense about what might happen when we actually get together.
Good. And I see Kimberly Spencer is here. And I'm glad, because I wasn't sure if I would be overwhelming you or not. So I'm going to turn off the recording.